Good morning. I'm Vivian Ho, and I'm a managing director at Accenture, part of our communications, media, and technology consulting practice. And I'm here today with my colleague, mentor, and sponsor, Piyush Bhatnagar, to talk about our partnership with Move the Dial on diverse women in technology. The journey for us started this year on International Women's Day, when Piyush and Jody Kovitz recognized a huge opportunity for us to empower a very special group of women. Since then, we've written a paper on diverse women in technology, exploring the challenges faced by these women today. And we've also thought very hard on finding new ways to empower these women to advance in their careers and their lives. We held a number of sessions where we brought together many diverse women from small, medium, and large companies to share their experience, strength, and hope. Hearing the stories one by one, I realized I was listening to the past 18 years of my own career, and many challenges that they face, I did too. I was lucky enough to learn about a career in tech very early on. My dad is an engineer, so I didn't really have any barrier to entry. In fact, I took it for granted. I was born in Hong Kong, and I came to Canada when I was 11. Growing up, my family taught me that certain career tracks are not suitable for my cultural background. At one point, I wanted to become a lawyer, and this was quickly dismissed by my family, telling me that someone with English as a second language will not succeed here as a lawyer. This was the first time I ever felt any limits to what I can do. Fast forward to today, we learned that over half the women we spoke to, over half, thought they had a ceiling in their career. And I suspect over half the women here today also believe they cannot do what they actually would like to do. This isn't right, it doesn't work, it can't go on. But we can change our story, and that is why we're here today.
Thanks, Vivian. I'm Piyush Bhatnagar. I'm Accenture's Managing Director for the GTA, and I'll start by saying it's a really unique opportunity for me to be here on stage at the Roy Thomson Hall. My mother was a classically trained singer and dancer, and when we were growing up, there'd be various acts that would come here, including some of her students. But you know, I grew up in Kitchener-Waterloo, and we didn't have a car when we were growing up, and so we would take the train, come into Union Station, have dinner, and we'd come to the show here. But inevitably, the show lasted longer than the last train back, so we'd be the family kind of trying to duck out of here. But in addition to being an artist, she also had a master's in social work. Her drive really was to help women in need and children in distress. Her challenge, however, was her credentials really weren't accepted here. And as an immigrant family, taking a couple years off to actually go and recertify wasn't a real option. And so she did great work, she did what she could, and she always did it with a smile, and it had impact. Now, I lost her a few years ago, and you know, I always felt that I wished that she had an opportunity to soar. So when I took this role on for the GTA for Accenture, I went to visit parts of our business that I wasn't really familiar with on a day-to-day basis. And so when I was out in Mississauga, we have a large technology delivery center there. They told me, you know, our people here are 2/3 non-white and 53% female. And I said, that's pretty damn good. But as I look at creating a platform for those folks to actually get to the top jobs, there's still work to be done. And so as we kind of went through what we're going to do about that, that's really what started this conversation.
So I studied engineering as my undergrad degree, and even though gender balance was far from 50-50, I actually didn't feel marginalized at all. But once I started working, that was a different story. You see, growing up, my parents taught me, wait your turn to speak, don't interrupt, be modest, and only open your mouth if you are the absolute expert in the area. Well, that obviously doesn't translate very well in the working environment, and especially not in the consulting world. And as a woman, waiting until everyone finished speaking before you chime in probably means you're not going to talk at all. So I was frustrated being viewed as not having an opinion, not having anything to say. And I also felt that I had to be loud, vocal, forceful at work. Surely there are other ways to get the job done without compromising my own personality. Could I not be recognized for what I've been able to achieve? Why should I only be judged on how I get there? But for years, there weren't any other role models for me to look up to. And it's not just me or people who look like me, not by a long shot. Women in the African American community also share the frustration of being viewed as aggressive and challenging their peers, even when they were simply trying to be themselves. And 93% of them experience prejudice at some point in their career, especially when they were moving into management. Is it really that hard for diverse women in tech to advance in their career by just being ourselves? It appears that the answer to that question is still yes. Now, not only do diverse women experience challenges at work, they also experience challenges at home. I still remember my uncle saying to me, "Vivian, perhaps it's time for you to scale back on your career. Take a 9-to-5 job so that you can spend more time at home with the kids, and let your husband focus on his career instead." That was just 2 years ago, after I got a promotion.
So there's still work to be done, clearly. So when we think about diversity and inclusion, diversity has really taken on more of a statistical concept. So goals, metrics, timelines. And if you don't measure it, you're not going to see progress. And I think there's a lot of progress that's been made with really focusing on the diversity side. But when we think about the inclusion side of the equation, creating a platform for people with equal capabilities that have equal opportunity, there's still more to do. And if we don't have a focus on that, the great strides that we made on the diversity side may not have staying power. And so, for me, I look forward to a time when we're not talking about diversity, we're not talking about inclusion, it's just truly about equality. But that's still work to do. So now we transition into what for me is probably the most dangerous part of this conversation. I know firsthand how much women like it when a man tells them how they're going to solve their problems. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about how we're going to solve these problems. So the number one area where in our problems statement as well as in our solutioning sessions was really around a big focus on mentoring and sponsorship. So we take the mentoring side, having a group of individuals that can help you kind of traverse waters that you're new to is very, very important. But the number one unique item that we heard a lot of was when you think about diverse women in technology, that cohort didn't really have a lot of role models to look up to and really have shared experiences so they can get the guidance they needed. So how do we actually widen that network, get people to have access and move things forward? So that was a big part of the mentoring side. When we look at the sponsorship side, it's even more, I'd say there's more work to be done. Traditionally, if you look at the top echelons of government, of academia, of the corporate world, it's still very male and, frankly, very white. Now, we're making progress, but there's still a lot to be done. And so as we look at, as everyone looks at developing their kind of personal board of directors, having individuals from each of those areas, as well as sponsors that actually can develop a platform to move forward, is extremely important.
And I think we should also focus on early education, because remember that many of the women we spoke to said they didn't feel any prejudice when they were at school, but they were startled by the bias when they actually entered the workforce. I know that there are already many career seminars, but none really focus on this specific topic. So why not have diverse women leaders be key speakers at some of these events so that we can reinforce that positive role model while at the same time starting the conversation early? I was recently on a leadership panel at an Accenture event where I shared some of my experiences. And afterwards, many men and women came up to me and told me that I was an inspiration to them. Really? Me? But all of them told me that there weren't enough role models like me, and they really appreciated seeing someone different, or maybe someone more like them, like in background and like in personality. And that was when I realized that every one of us can contribute. We can all make a difference, no matter how small it may seem. I'm here because I want to be the change I seek. I'm excited. We are excited to invite all of you to join us on this journey to move the dial for diverse women in technology. Please join us. Thank you.